Affordable housing isn't just a McPherson story, it's a Kansas story. From McPherson County to communities across the state, safe, stable homes are essential for thriving families. At the McPherson Housing Coalition, we're developing emergency shelters like the Oak Harbor Cottages and building permanent supportive homes through projects such as Sutherland Estates, creating housing that includes wraparound care and services. If you believe every Kansan deserves a place to call home, your support matters, whether you're in McPherson or miles away. Learn how you can help listeners and neighbors across Kansas by visiting McPhersonHousingCoalition.org.
Welcome to Housing for Good, a podcast dedicated to housing topics and issues affecting our communities in McPherson County and beyond. With years of experience and expertise, hosts Chris Goodson and Karolyn Moore discuss housing challenges and opportunities with other experts from a variety of housing fields.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
So, Chris, what's your news for the day?
Well, did you see all that hail that we got?
Well, we got a window busted.
Oh, my goodness. That was crazy.
Yeah. So, everywhere you go right now, walking Main Street, driving down the individual streets of McPherson are trucks with roofing on them.
Yes. And people have to be really careful that you know who you're getting. We have a roofer. I won't say his name because it might not be appropriate, but he does all of our roofs and does a great job. And so we called him right after the storm. This sounds terrible. I shouldn't admit it on the thing, but I was kind of hoping I had some little hail damage. Because I don't like the color of my roof.
Well,
and I don't want
roofing, siding, windows.
I know.
Yeah.
I just need a roof.
Yeah. But we just want to remind everybody, if you're listening and you've been contacted, make sure that they're licensed with the city. Make sure that you stay with local people. Don't pay a bunch of money before any work is done. All of those things that we're told over and over and over. But when something like this happens and you get panicky, because maybe you don't have a window or a hole in your roof or whatever. You know, you want leakage in your roof. You want to make sure that you get it fixed quickly. So
and get referrals from your friends and family.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people on the Facebook page asking for referrals. So do that.
Call your insurance company. They can tell you.
Right. And it doesn't matter where you live in the United States or, like I said, we have people from all around the world listening. So make sure that you hire people who are legitimate and that you have referrals. So that's that's only news we have today. But man, that was quite a storm.
It was, yes.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Lots of damage for lots of acreage. So
Karolyn, we have a really good
We have a very unusual conversation today. We have never gone this direction.
Oh, we haven't?
No, we have not. But today we are joined by Brennon Randa. He is an architect and a builder, designer. So, Brennon.
Wow, I'm impressed. Do you do all those things?
I don't know if I do any building, but I'm involved in building.
Well, you're involved in building.
So is it Brennon?
It is Brennon. There's no D.
Okay. Brennon. Yeah.
Brennon. Okay. Okay. So let's
all right. So back to my question.
Yes.
Brennon. Yeah. Can you tell us about your background? What drew you into architecture and city planning? Because you kind of help with that stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's driven from the architectural side, but I grew up with a contractor dad, and he worked me to the point where I learned the entire trade, inside, outside, roofs, concrete. We did a lot of stuff. And I also had an art side of things that I enjoyed doing. I liked drawing. I liked doodling house plans and things like that growing up. And, a lot of 105-degree summers on a roof or pouring concrete opened my eyes that maybe I could draw these things instead of build them.
Yeah, that was a good plan on your part, I will say. Yeah, your dad has built a lot of things, and I saw you as a kid doing some of those things.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy doing it, though.
Yeah, the cool thing about it, though, is the skill sets that you have to be amazing.
Yeah, I've learned so many different things, not just with my dad, but as I've been an architect for 20 years now. You do pick up a lot of things. So, yeah,
so
a man of all trades.
Tip to those younger people out there, Maybe you have a job you absolutely hate. That's great because it teaches you don't want to do this when you get older. You want to find something you enjoy. Like Brennan said, he liked to draw, so put them together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what inspires your work when it comes to designing housing and community spaces? I mean, what do you have some kind of, do you just get an idea or how does that work?
Well, there's two different ways to look at architecture. One is making the beautiful buildings that show up in every single magazine you ever look at. And a lot of those buildings are designed based on client needs, function, their wants, their desires, their dreams. And really, as an architect, it should be more about your client than about your personal portfolio. And so I've really made an effort to listen to clients to understand what their needs are, what they want to get out of it. I mean, it's their dream, not my dream. I just hope to make it happen. So architecture can take a lot of different forms. It just depends on the client that you're working with.
Okay. So from an architect's point of view, what are the biggest design challenges in building affordable or workforce housing in McPherson?
Finding a balance between being respectful to the people that are going to be living there that you may not know, and finding the available land to do those type of things, working with cities to maybe alter regulation to allow for different things to happen. Those are probably the biggest challenges. Codes and life safety aren't really challenges, but they should be followed and implemented in everything we do to make those housing safe. You shouldn't make something less just because you're trying to cut a corner or make it more affordable. And a lot of times those are what is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you're cutting out things that are not good.
It is very tricky. I mean, with the Oak Harbor cottages, that was quite the challenge.
Trying to find materials, labor that are quality too, that aren't costing a fortune is part of the problem.
You work all over the state. I don't know how that works if you're licensed. I'm assuming you have to have a license of some sort, maybe.
Yeah, your license carries throughout the state, and then every state has their own requirements.
So working across the state, do you find different areas that it's harder to do affordable housing, or is McPherson fitting in that somehow? Because I know it seems to me that when I need to hire somebody, it costs more here than it might be somewhere else because we don't have the availability of maybe some of these people. We don't have as many concrete people or as many roofers or as many, those type of trades. And so is it harder? Is it more expensive? Are we behind on that a little? I'm just curious.
I don't think we're behind. I think we're in a position where we're a small community and a lot of our younger tradespeople are moving to larger cities. They're not staying in their smaller communities to grow, to learn the skill set to do some of these things. So we do have a fewer pool to pick from. But every small community is in the same position.
So if I went to Wichita, for instance, could I do something a lot cheaper and a lot quicker and a lot less expensive?
Yeah, because that's where everybody's gravitating towards. I read a statistic that said something like by 2050, there is going to be a swing in people moving out of rural America into larger metropolitan areas. And the number, I don't remember the exact percentage, but it catches your attention.
Wow.
So, perfect example, the glass company that we had to call, that you called, they're not in McPherson. We don't have a glass company anymore. They're gone.
We don't have a lumberyard either.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. We're very sad about that. Okay, we're not going to dwell on the sadness. We're going to move on to other things. So how can good design impact not just the look, but the livability and affordability of housing? So Chris and I learned something within the last 6 months or so in design of our Oak Harbor cottages in trauma-informed design and the way that people feel when they're in your space. So how do you keep that in mind when you're looking at the look of something that you're designing, but also then the livability and affordability of it? Well,
early in architectural school, they tell you that form follows function. So if you design around a need or a client or a trauma or whatever that parameter may be that that function really drives that design, and then your form follows it. So any time that you spend a little bit of effort to get to know who your audience is or who your client is or who that housing is going to be suitable for really drives the entire design. So if you need an open plan because of people that maybe not used to be or don't want to be claustrophobic, would be more of an open plan. If those people that want to or need to be comforted, you want to provide those more intimate spaces where they can kind of go and retreat to. So it just, and some of them require both, and you just have to know what that is. You need to know what size of spaces are suitable for different needs and functions. So a lot of that stuff just drives it. The pretty things that we look at are the end result. You know, we can tailor a lot of that around the function. So it's just getting to know clients.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really understand how architecture works. I can read a plan all day long, but really understanding what goes into it and how they make those determinations is really interesting.
I mean, even in school, we spent a lot of time watching. I went to K-State, and the School of Architecture is right outside of the plaza in front of the Student Union, and we were encouraged to just go sit out there and watch people for hours.
Really?
Hours, all in all times of the day. So, you know, it could be morning to see what people are doing through that space in the morning. Could be afternoon.
Oh, that's really good.
We sat out there, you know, between 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to see what people do in the evenings. And I mean, it's pretty fascinating. And my wife hates it because I do a lot of staring and watching people.
You're a people watcher.
But I'm not watching them because I'm curious. Well, sometimes I'm curious of what they're doing. But
You're just, that's funny.
My daughter's doing it now too. So that's, my wife's just like, stop staring.
I know, people are like, what is going on with this guy? That makes a lot of sense though, but I never had a class in school where I had to go watch people. That would have been a fun class. I like to watch people too. I'd rather just sit there at the fair and watch people than do things. Yeah.
It's fascinating. I mean, people just do things differently, and understanding patterns is really important. So.
Yeah, we had learned about that trauma-informed design when we had somebody come on, Otis. What was Otis' last name? I can't remember, but that's what he specialized in, and it was really interesting. And we figured out that we actually had done the Oak Harbor cottages with trauma-informed design without actually knowing that's what we were doing. And all we did was instinctually say, if I lived in this space, what would I need as somebody who's struggling? That was what we did. I mean, we didn't have any education or experience. We just knew this is what felt good for us, and that's what we did.
Well, yeah, but you work around those type of people a lot, so you understand what they need.
Yeah. So are there examples of housing developments or design features you think McPherson should have? What is something we could bring in here that we're missing?
McPherson is a difficult town. I mean, we have so much industry. We have a lot of business leaders. We have a lot of entrepreneurial leaders in town. We have
2 colleges.
2 colleges, a hospital. I mean, it's a really unique situation. But there's a concept the city is taking a look into, and that's pattern housing, and that's taking some older, undeveloped or prior developed lots and trying to create new housing opportunities in them that wouldn't necessarily meet the current zoning requirements. I don't know how quickly that's going to take off. I mean, it would require a lot of zoning changes for that to happen, and right now we're just looking at it from a case-to-case basis. But one of the big ones that I think I see a lot of newer developers looking at is cluster housing or cluster development, and it's kind of similar to the
Oak Harbor.
But you add in the amenities, and you're finding spaces that have suitable amenities that can be used by the masses and not just that one-off. So people don't have to necessarily drive all the time to get to places. And that's the challenge with McPherson. We're a small community. Even if you did walk, it's not too much of a difficult walk to get to where you need to go unless you're going to Walmart.
Yeah.
So cluster housing looks at developments in which you can densely populate a smaller tract of land or a smaller area of land. And if you don't have the amenities, sometimes that amenity is built. It could be a lot of shared resourcefulness like laundry facilities, rec facilities, TV rooms. I mean, It's just a way to facilitate in one location versus building this in every single house. So cluster housing is a big one.
That would cut down on costs tremendously if you didn't have to put washer and dryer hookups in every single house and have those, those appliances and all of that. But, for the Oak Harbor cottages, we only did 10 because I didn't want to have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and say, hey, can you change these setbacks? The setbacks on that property were ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, they're based on, I don't know, however old the subdivision is, but anyway, so that was something that we could have had 2 more. I bet we could have fit 2 more houses on there pretty easily. But it was so important that we got that project done that we just followed all the rules and said, okay, we're going to do everything the way we're supposed to. We're not going to ask for any special privileges. But for somebody that wasn't us, that might have been a deterrent, or maybe they couldn't have got those extra. They wouldn't have built it if they couldn't have got those extra 2 on there. I don't know, but I mean, those setbacks are sometimes ridiculous a little bit when you're like, why do I need that much space?
Yeah, there's good reasons to having them. I mean, because they do shape communities and street side, and it starts to develop a formality. But not every development needs formality. Some of them can be unique. Yeah. And working with the city to be able to explore alternate ideas is how we move forward as a society. If we keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different outcomes, or maybe not expecting different outcomes, but we don't ever move forward as a society. We just keep doing things wrong
over and over again. That's we want to put a clubhouse on our property for our families, and that's in the works, but we don't quite have the money for it yet. But we'd like to do that again to provide opportunities for them to be able to have more things on the side and,
and not have to walk across town to get to what they need.
Right, shared resources. So that's something that we want to really get into. So as a member of the McPherson City Planning Commission, what do you see as the most pressing housing challenges facing our community right now?
Land opportunity.
Land.
Yep, developers. I mean, it's all, a lot of it's all developed for single-family housing or two-family housing, and it's just harder to get more units in certain areas of town.
Are utilities a problem? I thought utilities weren't everywhere that we needed them to be within the city, and that was kind of slowing things down. I know in some of our smaller communities, they don't have the infrastructure to do a lot.
Yep. Utilities can be a big impact. I mean, sewers is a necessity, and that one's probably the hardest one to get facilitated in new developments.
I've been to city commission meetings or different meetings, and they talk about needing a lift station here or there. And, that all goes back to sewer and whether or not you can, have your sanitation for where people are wanting to build.
So in other cities, like I know in Salina, they're doing a lot of townhomes, even in Lindsborg, and they're taking off. Is that an option for us? Do you think the city of McPherson would be able to market townhomes? I mean, have you seen that?
I think so. I think they're very popular. We have a lot of developers that call asking about doing some sort of a townhome. We did one in Mound Ridge for a couple. I wouldn't call them developers, but they're builders that do a lot of housing. And so we did a townhome type development there. They're all single story, but they're much more. It sounds funner to rent a townhome than it is an apartment, but they're basically the same thing.
That's way cooler in my opinion. I live in a townhome. That's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the term is used kind of loosely around here between a townhome and an apartment, but a townhome is just it's a side-by-side unit where it's stretched out over a long period stretch of land, where an apartment really is something that is focused on the going up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do zoning and city planning decisions shape what kind of housing can be built here?
It shapes everything. I mean, going back to the setbacks and creating a formality in a neighborhood. Some of those are important. We need to have setbacks so that we can get utilities to properties easier, or we can maintain them easier. So understanding where those utilities are coming in. But Kansas is flat, so we have to deal with a lot of drainage issues, and zoning can help facilitate, areas of land that can be used for drainage or detention or retention. Wall Park is one of the larger detention and retention areas in our community. It's designed to flood, and that's where a lot of water is held.
Oh, I didn't know it was designed to flood.
Well, that explains why it floods every time we get a lot of rain.
We use that as our gauge. Look how much rain we had. I didn't know it was supposed to do that.
So it's a retention area is an area that always has water in it, and so that is a retention area, but it is designed. It's a bowl, so it's designed to flood from occasion.
Okay, that makes all the sense in the world as to why that grass just comes. It never washes away. The grass stays right there. The water drains. Grass is green again.
Mm-hmm. So you learn something new every single day.
Brilliant thinking.
So is there ever any thought to, this would be like a ridiculous thing probably, but like to go around the community and look at the zoning for the different areas to determine if these setbacks and all these things are appropriate? Is that like a dream that I have that that can't happen? I know it'd be a lot of work, but like I said, there's been some things. I sat on the Board of Zoning Appeals for 25 years or some ridiculous amount of time, and I'm like, wow, sometimes this seems silly that we're here talking about this again. Okay, same thing over and over again.
For a lay person, you two live in this world.
Yeah, well.
For a lay person, are the setbacks so that when I walk out my front door, I don't have the street right there?
Well, kind of.
So when I go to Boston, it always amazed me, like there's no front yard.
Yeah.
You walk out of your front door, off your stoop, onto a sidewalk, and 5 or 6 foot away is the street.
I don't know exactly how they determined those original setbacks. I don't know how that all played out. I will say I did this for years, but I can't tell you the historical significance or how it all came about.
Well, it's all about developing a formality in a neighborhood. So all the houses line up, all the driveways line up, It's a tradition to put a garage in the front of the house. Don't know why we do that, but we do that.
Yeah, my grandma always thought they were ugly.
They are.
She'd always say, why did you build a house with your garage out here? It's ugly.
Well, and if you leave that open, you just left open the largest door to your house.
Yep. Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's just stuff that we've reused, and it was it was popular back in the 60s, 70s, and it's just the way we think we have to do things.
Yeah.
And so I do think a lot of the zoning probably initiated back in the post-war. We had all these people moving back from the war and wanting to build housing, and we made quick decisions and how can we do this, and we have the city block, and we have to have all these nice row of housing. And
and we used to do that too when I sat on the board. We would look at something. If somebody wanted to go outside the setback, we would look down the street and go, okay, everybody else is over that setback. Do we consider letting this person because Bob and Harry and John did it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So why Sally can't do hers, right? And it makes sense. It looks good. It's it's contiguous and all that kind of thing. So we used to do that. Yeah, that's true. That's the true thing. So
and, for city lots, you want to create an equal setting for everybody. You wouldn't want somebody that had a house that was built 50 feet off the right-of-way and one that was built on the right-of-way. You would lose visibility down the street. It wouldn't be an equal type of lot. So
So anyways, there's your lesson.
Okay, thank you.
That's a very short lesson. So I'm on the Planning Commission for the county now, and that's been interesting. We're doing our 20-year comprehensive plan. And that's a whole nother set of issues.
And I keep hearing her talk about we don't want to lose ag land. We don't want to lose ag land because you can never get it back. And so those things that the average person doesn't think about, they just think, well, why can't I do this? And, and unless you have some idea or you listen to this podcast, you really don't know. So, that's what we're here to do, education.
That's been really interesting, though, being on that. But so where do you see opportunities for growth or innovation in local housing policy? What can we change or grow or do? Do you have any notes on that over there?
So one of my my struggles that I have a hard time with, and I'm going to pick some on the older generation, but also some of my generation, the younger generations, but our housing and our real estate system is broken. We have, housing has always traditionally been kind of hierarchical. So you've got new houses and they age, and as they age, the value of them should slightly come down over its age minus inflation, right? Well, as these houses are aging in our community, our smaller community, and they get to a point where they become affordable for a lot of people, it becomes an investment opportunity. We've turned real estate into investment. And that is where everybody is struggling, because all these houses that are coming up for sale for $20,000 or $25,000 or $30,000 are being bought up by investors. They're sticking $100,000 into them, and now we don't have housing stock that's affordable.
And they're turning them into rental properties.
And most of them are being turned into rentals, Airbnbs. I know a lot of communities are starting to regulate Airbnbs. Because you can't have every single house on the block become an Airbnb.
Right.
And that's what was happening. And I don't know if that's the only reason why they're starting to regulate them. I think some of them are getting out of hand. But yes, regulation, I think, can be good. But it's going to be a cultural shift. We've got to start getting real estate. It can be an investment, but it needs to be a controlled investment so that our older housing stock can be revitalized, but it doesn't. We don't need to, triple or quadruple the value of that home, because that's the only way you make affordable housing. It has to age. You can't build new houses and expect any sort of return on affordable housing.
Yeah,
it's impossible unless you're getting government subsidies, aid, funding, grants.
Yeah.
That's in my opinion, that's not the appropriate way to go about building affordable housing. It shouldn't be built by the government. We've got to find different mechanisms in order to do this, and revitalization is key in older neighborhoods. We're just doing it wrong.
The problem with that is that you put somebody, say, coming out of college or in their 20s trying to buy the first house, and you want to have a home that's been aged and has a lot of issues. They can't afford to fix up that house. That is a problem. My son, his first house, both my kids' first house was they're fixer-uppers. They both went in, them and their dad. That's how we do it in our family, and then we move up. But if you don't have a parent and you obviously don't have the income, it doesn't work. And so that's part of the issue, is how do we help make those houses more affordable and do the work that needs to be done, update the kitchen or the bathrooms, just to make them usable, because maybe they were rental properties. That happens a lot. They're rental properties. Or maybe they are aging because somebody lived in there for 60 years and never did anything. Yeah. Then how do you balance that?
Well, as a revitalization, I think, is important, because you don't have to stick hundreds of thousands of dollars to make them livable again. And I think we have a false perception that we have to keep up with the Joneses. So, a lot of these houses function perfectly fine. Yeah, they look like they're built in the 50s. Well, they were built in the 50s or pre-50s. Do we have to have something that looks like it was built in the 2000s to make life comfortable? Not necessarily. And if you can get into a house and have a fixer-upper, I've only lived in fixer-uppers. That's all I've ever bought. And it's a curse.
We do that in our family as well. I just want to add that.
Yeah, just like never-ending projects. But we don't have to have everything new. Yeah. And that's what these investors are doing. They're basically just stripping it back down and building a new house inside of old bones. And old bones are good. Like houses that were built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s are solid houses. Some of them haven't been maintained as well as some others, but generally they're pretty solid houses. So, yeah.
So what is your vision for housing in McPherson over the next 10 to 20 years?
It's hard. 10 years. When I do a lot of planning, it's only about 5 years out, because things change so quickly today.
So what's 5 years?
5 years? 5 years, we got to find a way to for finding middle ground between material availability, cost, trying to find ways to build things cheaper. And I think we need a lot more single family housing. And whether that's through individual homes or duplexes or something that we can get single families into quicker.
Well, I mentioned earlier, we've got 2 colleges in this town, and to keep that workforce here once they graduate, keep them here instead of them going someplace else. We have to figure out how do we house them.
Well, and it's tricky too because the college is buying up property in those neighborhoods, and so we're losing all of that as well. Plus, we want to keep the people who are graduating. So how do you lose that and do this? And it's like an impossible situation almost. I mean, we want to grow. We want for the colleges to grow. I love them. I graduated from Met College, but at the same time, it's like, how are we? Are we planning? Are we doing this as a county? Are we doing this as a city? Are we talking to each other and making those connections? Do you think that's happening? Or do you feel like there's a lot of disconnect with this housing situation, and maybe that's why some of these problems that I see are happening?
I think there is a disconnect. Yep. And matter of fact, I'm not for sure what question it went to, but the city needs to start encouraging our colleges to rehabilitate their existing dormitories or build new dormitories. But my philosophy, and I don't have any factual background behind this, but my guess is that they're buying up all these older houses in these older neighborhoods because it's too expensive to build new dormitories. It's cheaper to buy all these other properties, which is taking away, again, from our housing stock, our available affordable houses or workforce housing, first-time home buyers, young families. We don't have those opportunities because we have 2 colleges in this town that own entire neighborhoods. Yeah,
70 plus houses between the 2 of them.
We counted one day. We for fun, we went in and looked.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they own over 70 homes. So that's 70 single-family homes that could be used for low-income housing, for families who want to move in,
first-time home buyers.
I mean, all of that. So, I mean, we support their growth. It just is it's putting a lot of more pressure on what's going on in our community. So I have concerns. So how can we balance growth with preserving the character of the community? So we want to grow, but we also want to be McPherson. What does that look like?
Scale of economy, uniqueness, and favorable neighborhoods. I don't know if I have an answer of how you achieve that, but that we've got to find a way to build a lot of housing that creates a uniqueness that's favorable to our neighborhoods. That's kind of my answer.
So you told me when we went to the Planning Commission you liked the Oak Harbor cottages.
I do.
You did?
I do.
Yeah.
I love the community that you built. I love the fact that they face each other and that their back doors are to the street sides. It's kind of an inverse community where the front door becomes much more manageable and you're not having to look across the busy street anymore. Matter of fact, I studied something similar to that. It's not a new concept. I mean, it's been done in other developments. But I studied that a little bit in college of how to inverse the home, and vehicles are always a struggle. But I thought, man, if you're going to be building garages on the front of your houses anyways, why don't you just make that the back of the house and face, another front porch instead of a garage. So
in the 50s, I think, I don't remember exactly, but in the 50s in California, they were doing a lot of this particular design. And unfortunately, as more and more people had money, they started tearing them down and building mansions. But this was a design in California where I grew up.
Yeah.
It was a very common design, and it was a way to get a lot of people into a space. They built communities, which was really important in certain cultures out there. So that was fun to go back to something that I knew about.
I think you guys are on the right track with those.
Cool.
And cluster housing can do the same thing. I mean, I wish the Oak Harbor cottages could be a little bit more organic, but the site that you guys had really wasn't allowing that to happen. I'm not as big a fan of the row housing. I like more organic, and organic things cause you get to develop unique spaces within that setting, right?
Yeah.
Where straight row housing is a lot more difficult to do. But if you could find, and that's why one of the challenges is finding land available to do some of these things and create these unique, favorable neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That's what it takes is land.
Yeah, it is tricky to do when you have a site that small, and that's even with the Sutherland Estates. You know, we've got so many parameters and all these setbacks. There's setbacks on 3 sides that we have to follow, and it makes it challenging to try to be real creative. So we try to do that with landscaping and trees and signage and all of that stuff, because that's the only way that we can figure out how to make it work. We still have more plans. We'd like to do some artwork on the site to make it really, really stand out, but we haven't quite got there yet either.
So I have to laugh because at Oak Harbor, our detention spot is in the middle and there's grass. It does not look like a detention area for your rainwater. Over at Sutherland Estates, we had to put in this dip. It's definitely a basin. And one of the moms that has a couple boys, they were riding their bikes through that, you know, and she's like, is that causing a problem? I'm like, well, when it fills up with water, it will. Yep. But right now it's dry, so no. But just, you know, keeping in mind what that function is for and that there's kids in the neighborhood.
Right.
And it's fine. Yeah. It's dry right
But then
now.
again, because we had to do that, it limited what we could do on that property, because that was it's this big old detention
It's a
pond.
Basin.
Yes, whatever it is.
It's our own wall park.
There you go.
And I hope it never floods or fills up with water, because I'm really not feeling that very good. What role do you think public-private partnerships should play in addressing needs? Okay, so like the McPherson Housing Coalition in the city and private industry, what do you think that should look like?
It's tough. They're all different, and they have different goals in mind. And trying to get everybody on the same page to do common projects is very difficult. I don't think there's any great answer of how you accomplish that. It's going to take people with an open mind, willing to hear each other out, put aside their own ambitions. Can that be done? I think it can, but it's definitely one of those stick in the muds that makes development difficult.
Yeah.
I will say we did that at the Oak Harbor Cottages, but that was one mission that everybody got on board. And I think that people were actually afraid to say anything bad. There were so many people invested in that project that you didn't dare say anything. And if we could do that with other things besides our emergency shelter, man, we could really accomplish a lot.
We've been working for a couple years now with this countywide housing study. And then you start asking, okay, who are the voices not at the table? And trying to pull them in, you know. And so it is challenging, because you're right. Everybody's got their own agenda, their own goals of what they need for their part of the pie. That, it'll be interesting to see if we finally are able to do anything. But
we're getting there. I feel like we are. You know, we have that Development 101. We're doing that landing page for developers, anybody that's interested in coming here and building or developing. I mean, we're trying to centralize things so it's really easy for people. We'll see how it works.
We'll see how it comes out.
How it works, yeah.
So what can everyday community members do to support housing solutions?
Be open to different. You can't keep building the same thing over and over again for everybody.
Go to the meetings when they talk about it.
You go to the meetings, get involved, get engaged in your community, get engaged in your city planning commission, zoning board. I mean, anytime you can voice your opinion and get involved will inevitably open your own mind, because you'll be able to hear everybody else out. So be respectful to one another. Not everybody's created equal, is what we're taught, right?
I'm laughing. I was thinking, now I will say people weren't publicly saying mean things, but they were saying mean things to me privately about the Oak Harbor Cottages. I mean, they were very fearful that we were going to ruin the property values and we were going to mess up their neighborhood. It was going to be terrible. And now they're like, you know, what you built's pretty cool. We love it.
Yeah.
But they didn't trust us at all. And I don't know how you build that trust, except we had to just do it and get a lot of people involved. And then they saw the end product, and they're like, oh, this is... I think it's one of the nicest projects on the block, my personal self.
Well, it's different, and it's unique. And it's created for folks that have different needs. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to see that when it's not there. And we do the same thing in architecture. I mean, people can't see what we're designing until you either develop it in 3D, and even then, sometimes they don't get a picture of it. But a lot of times, people don't really even understand what they're hiring us for until it's built, and then they're like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Good job.
Or the flip side of that is you keep telling them, don't do this, don't do this. It needs to be done differently, and this is how we should do that. And they just keep telling you, nope, we're going to do it this way. And then they get it built, and they're like, man, I wish we would have not done that.
Listened.
And I'm not saying that architects get it right all the time, but there's enough experience in the pool that we know when things work and when things don't work. And most people only build a house once. So they just don't understand. And you try to guide them and cushion their fall when things don't go quite
So,
as
you know,
planned.
I'm obviously not an architect, but I appraise enough houses that I can walk into a house and go, this is a terrible design. Or I can go, man, they should have done this. Or, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
You know, you do it enough, you get a feel for what works and what flows. I'll walk into a house and there's hallways everywhere. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a hotel. Who made this?
Yep.
Whose idea was this design? Was it the architect had some big ideas, or did they say, hey, I would like to have hallways so each person can walk down a separate area to get to their bedroom? It's the craziest thing. So I will say I never tell people that I'm appraising their houses what I'm thinking, unless it's positive, but I do have ideas in my brain.
Well, thank you. Thank you for not saying the negative things.
I don't say anything negative, but I'm like, what is this supposed to be?
I'm a little bit more free-spirited when I get hired to do projects. I just walk in and I'm like, this is terrible. Can we fix this? Like, can we do something to help you out?
Yeah. You probably have more leeway than I do. They do not want their appraiser walking in going, whoa, what have you got going on here?
Yeah.
So how can organizations like McPherson Housing Coalition and architects like what you do work together? Is there like something we can do to help move some of this stuff along, ask for advice? How does that go?
Sharing information, I think, is the key to getting things done, and being open to share that information. I think, especially McPherson Housing Coalition and architects are not that much different. I think we all have kind of a common goal. We share a lot of the same philosophies. We care about the people that we're designing for and building for. And again, I joked, I mean, we are all created equal and we need to be treated that way, but our culture is not allowing that. So being kind to who we're designing to, either through function, form, or efficiency, not having a million hallways everywhere, I think is the goal in sharing like information.
I'll just share a story.
Uh-oh.
So when we started building the Oak Harbor cottages, our designer went to Brennon and said, hey, I need some flooring. And she picked out something, and he's like, no, you don't want that. That's not going to wear the way you want it to. But I like the color. So we bought flooring because of the color. And then when we realized what the advice was given,
But it was correct.
it's like, okay, we need to adjust this now and change what we're doing, because he was right. This is not going to wear the way we want it to. So I think sometimes you mentioned listening to the clients, but I think sometimes if you're having something built, listening to those people that have that education, they work with this stuff all the time, and they can give you really good advice on what not to use.
Don't do that.
Well, TV's not always accurate, so don't always listen to your home improvement shows on TV.
What do you mean?
LVT is not the answer for every project.
There is a lot of it, and I can tell you as an appraiser, I see a lot of it. Doesn't matter whether you have a $100,000 house or a $1 million house. It's in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. It's here to stay, but knowing where to use it and where it's appropriate to use it is key.
Yeah. So, Brennon, if you could leave the listeners that we have today with one takeaway about the future of housing in McPherson, what would that be?
I'm going to steal a quote from Dave Ramsey.
Okay.
Okay.
Live like no one else today so that later you can live like no one else. He says that in terms of financial peace, right?
Yeah.
But really, it's going to take being different today to be different tomorrow. If we keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, we're just never going to grow as a society. I also think that we need to shed some cultural norms, refocus on real. Mm-hmm. We have too much false reality, and those things are really driving, especially our youth, into just these weird areas that you can't influence growth.
I love it.
I do too. I love that quote.
I love that. So it goes, my husband says that I didn't know there was a box.
You don't.
That I just always think outside, and if everybody else would be more open, like you're saying, man, the things we could accomplish would be incredible. And a part of that is fear, too, I think. People are afraid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What you're afraid of, I'm not afraid of anything. It's quite frightening. But for most people, being in the norm is comfortable for them, and thinking outside of that is very frightening.
Yeah.
So I love that quote. That goes really along with what everybody's trying to do with housing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Brennon.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, if you are listening and you would be interested in being on our show, maybe you'll come in with a completely different viewpoint of what we've talked about today. Drop us a line, let us know, leave us a review, tell us how we're doing. You can do all of that at housingforgood@mcphersonhc.org.
Yes.
Thank you for listening.
And have a great day.